Welcome to MindStrong Coaches. My name is Rachel, and I'm the CEO of MindStrong Fitness, a multi-six-figure, soon-to-be seven-figure, 100% online coaching business that I grew 400% in under 8 months. And the purpose of this content is to teach you to do the exact same thing, but in much less time. So today's episode, we're talking about the 3 keys to hitting 20K months. And this is a topic that you've heard me talk about before. We talked about ways to the simple math behind 20K months. A lot of previous content has included this idea of how to scale exponentially. And anytime we're talking strictly finances, I always like to put the little disclaimer up front because I think it's important that we hear it time and time again that many of us have been raised in a household, in a society where it's one or the other. It's either helping people or making money. And the second that you claim to be doing both, you are labeled as selfish or greedy or not doing the right thing or whatever other limiting belief is there. And I am here to be an advocate for the fact that one cannot fully exist without the other. To me, that is capital T truth. If I am showing up burned out, run down, hanging on by a thread, whether because I'm undercharging and not charging what I'm worth and spreading myself too thin, or because I'm working 2, 3 jobs to try to support this side hustle of coaching, I'm not showing up for my clients. I am doing them and myself a disservice. I am a huge believer in doing this money mindset work. And we have a whole episode dedicated to money mindset to fully stand in your power and understand that the more money that I am making as an entrepreneur, the more I can serve others. And that is true of your clients. That is true of the world, right? Me being poor is not helping starving children in Africa. Me having plenty of income where I can write large checks or go on trips and help them. That is how we help the world. When you bring in money, you are not taking away from anyone else. Everything in life is energy and we attract back what we put out. So the more we need more good people attracting that in, right? There are plenty of people with shady morals making money. We need more of the people whose hearts are in the right place, making it so that they're using it for the good stuff. So again, I always just like to put a little disclaimer on there because if you are someone who was brought up in a household with beliefs like, money is the root of all evil, it makes you selfish, you're never going to be able to stand in your power. You're never going to be, unless you do this work, you are not going to be able to stand there and tell a client this program's $10,000. It's the deal of a year, because in the back of your head, you're going to be questioning yourself and that vibration, that vibe is going to come across. So that money mindset work, again, we have a whole episode dedicated to it, is some of the most important work that you can do. Now, let's talk about those 3 keys to hit 20K months. And if you have watched our videos, listened to our content, these are not new concepts. They are all some things that we have touched on in different formats, but I want to really hone in on the 3 keys because these are the things that when I talk about that exponential growth, that 400% growth we experienced in 8 months, I've shared this before, but when we had our first 10K month, we made these changes, we hit our first 10K month, and within 2, 3 months of that, we were hitting 30, 40, 50K months. Like it was a long uphill battle. We made those switches, things clicked, and then it was just smooth. I mean, smooth sailing is an exaggeration. As a business owner, you're always going to be learning, adjusting, and tweaking. But the truth is that when you hit those milestones, once you know the process, it gets way easier. So like all of our content, the purpose here is to really streamline it for you so that you're not riding the struggle bus slowly up the hill. You can just hit the ground with that exponential growth. So the first key to hitting 20K months, we talked about pretty in depth in a past episode, but it's this idea of not keeping open enrollment. And as we talked about in that episode, that's super scary in the beginning, right? Turning away clients, telling clients, I am not available for coaching right now, my program's not open, is one of the most petrifying switches you'll make as a coach. And I say that from experience. I shared it in that episode. When we decided to make Ignite a 12-week program that only opened every 12 weeks, I was petrified is the understatement of the year. I was beyond scared because I had just given up my teaching job. This was my only paycheck. And suddenly I was going on a cliff and turning people away, putting them on a wait list, and all the what if thoughts. What if we open and no one signs up? What if I just turn away all these clients and they go to another coach? And that was the change that first launch when we told people we're only opening every 12 weeks. When we opened, we sold out. That was our first 10K plus month, and it was skyrocketing from there. So if you currently offer coaching anytime, people know they can sign up with you anytime. I highly encourage you to switch to only opening, whether it's every 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, whatever works for you. And again, if you think about, your Amazon cart, how often do we save things for later? But when you see, there's only 2 left, or limited flash sale, whatever it is, we don't believe in discounts for our signature programs, but whatever it is for this analogy, you're going to hit buy now right now, because it's do or die. It's make or break time. And that's what we want your clients to feel. They need a reason to jump off that cliff and take the leap, make the investment in themselves. The other switch you've heard me talk about in depth, and I've talked about this before. If there's, of these 3 things, if there was one thing that just contributed to that switch to us, it was the switch to group coaching. And as we've talked about in earlier episodes, sometimes people think that group coaching is watering down, right? Well, if someone's used to paying one-to-one time with me, suddenly I'm throwing them in a group, I'm doing them a disservice. Especially when it comes to nutrition, it is the single best thing you can be doing for your clients. When you're teaching someone the skill of macro tracking, it's learning a new language. Nobody else in their life is having conversations like, what are you eating that has 12 grams of protein, but only 2 grams of fat? And when you put people in a community to speak this same language together, they have accountability, they have support, and they have other people speaking their same language. It's like putting them in an immersive trip to learn Korean versus sitting there and giving them headphones to learn, whatever audio tapes, audio listening to learning that new language. It is a totally different immersive experience, and it's how they learn best. And the last point goes back to our money mindset. So not keeping open enrollment, only launching, we call it launching in the online business world, only launching certain times a year is how we create hype. Again, if you didn't listen to the earlier episode about building a wait list, building that hype, that's a must. Switching from one-to-one to group coaching. Listen, we still do one-to-one at a much higher price point, but even those people who are paying at the time of this recording $10,000 to work one-to-one with me, they're still in that community because they might have access to me every day, but they still need that community. That's how important it is. And the last one goes back to this money mindset, and it's to raise your prices. And I say that not knowing where your prices are right now, but 99.999% of coaches out there need to raise their prices. We did an entire episode on what to say when clients say it's too expensive, on how to set your price points. Most of the forums, the discussions, the videos, everything out there, if you were to ask, how do I set my prices? What you will read says, find out what other people in the area are charging and start there or go a little under. Hands down, the worst advice you can take. The second you start getting into a bidding war, what you are saying is, if you want the least expensive option, if you're looking to do this the cheapest way possible, I am the person for you. The people that you attract are not the people you want, because someone who is only in this because you are the cheapest option out there is not going to put in the work. And when they drop off, they're not sitting there saying, well, really, I was looking for the cheapest option, I didn't put in the work. No, they're saying, I signed up with Joe's coaching program and it sucked. I didn't get any results. It was a waste of money. And now you're driving your brand into the ground. I would much rather be the most expensive person on the block than the cheapest on the block, but you need to be able to do that while standing in your power. That's why that money mindset is so important. When you raise your prices, and again, we've done a whole episode on this, and if you haven't checked it out, go listen to it. 2 things happen. 1, you can show up better. You are not run to the ground because you're trying to work another job while doing this, because you're trying to serve too many people without giving them your full attention, because you're just taking anyone who comes along, right? The other thing that happens is you attract your ideal client. And that ideal client is kind of a buzzword in the coaching world. But when you have someone, we talk a lot about how clients have to feel that sting. When you have someone who's like, you know what, you are the person I want to work with. I don't care if it's going to sting. I don't care if I have to sacrifice. I don't care if I have to throw it on a 0% credit card and pay it off for a year. I need you. How much more apt is that person to put in the work than the person who signed up with you because they're the cheapest option? Again, this comes down to money mindset, because if you're promoting yourself as, well, my price is this, but we can talk about blah, blah, blah. No, you're driving yourself into a hole. You need to do the work to understand that when I charge what I'm worth, when I stand in my power, the people who deserve my time, my energy, and I don't mean deserve in a human way, I mean in terms of they want what you have to offer, right? I don't want someone to pay me $10,000 to work one-to-one with me if they're not going to put the work in, because that's going to trash my image. But it's not about the dollar point. But when I had someone who had to sacrifice to put that $10,000 in, and then it hurt and it stung, come hell or high water, they're going to put the work in, right? In my own experience, my first business coach cost me $3,000. I did most of what she said because $3,000 was a decent amount at that time. When I hired a coach that cost $10,000 and then $20,000, Hell yes, I put in the work. At the time of hiring them, that was a tremendous amount of money. And of course, I'm going to inch out every single drop that I can get from my experience with them. The more we have to sacrifice for something, the more seriously we take it. And the more seriously your clients take this, not only did they get the results, but then you get those before and after pictures, you get the word of mouth, you get the referrals. It's a total win-win. So we talk a lot in this channel about logistics and scaling and automating and getting everything in structure. But if we had to summarize it listen, you want to build your business to 20K months, here are three things to do right off the bat. Number one is don't have open enrollment, right? Figure out what time frame works for you. For us, Ignite is a 12-week program, so it opens every 12 weeks. Number two, switch to a group coaching format. If you haven't checked out the episode about the simple math behind 20K months, it explains logistically why group coaching works from a financial perspective. And as we talked about today, it is doing your clients a huge favor by immersing them with like-minded people. And lastly, this one is way easier said than done, but raise your prices. If you are undercharging, you are doing yourself a disservice and you are doing your clients a disservice. The most important part of scaling your business is your money mindset. And I've said it a million times this episode. I will continue to say it a million times because we don't realize how deep rooted our belief systems go. Most of the stuff we believe, this is a hashtag bigger life statement. Most of the things we think we believe in life are just what was passed down to us. So you might not really believe that money is the root of all evil, right? You might be able to step back and be like, you know what? I see my friends do GoFundMe from time to time. How amazing would that feel to just cash out their entire GoFundMe, right? So-and-so needs $5,000 to help with their grandparents. How much would I love to just fund their entire project like that? Me being poor, struggling to make ends meet is not sending money to someone else. That's not how the world works. That's not how money works. It's not like me being poor is allowing people in third world countries to have better lives. What's going to help them have better lives is me becoming wealthy so that I can serve more clients, so that I can cut those checks, so that I can go on trips and help people. And that may be your belief deep down, but you're fighting against what's wired in your brain since childhood. And that's why this money mindset is so important. But for the purposes of this conversation, if we're going to talk about scaling your business to 20K months, to me, those are non-negotiables, those three. You got to stop open enrollment. You got to give people a reason to buy now, switch to group coaching, raise your prices, charge what you're worth, and your business will scale exponentially.